This video is brought to you by Robinhood, the investment brokers that let you buy stocks, ETFs, and cryptocurrencies all commission free. There's still time to take advantage of this historic 2020 stock market crash, and if you sign up using the link in the description below, you'll instantly receive one free stock without even depositing a single penny. No, this still isn't my real portfolio, but I have added to it a bit, like the stock on your screen. That's Cody. They make like makeup, Revlon, stuff like that. What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Is your body ready for deep sea tech genus of all things? What the heck are you talking about, Cap G? And how are these two archetypes in one deck? That was what I was wondering when I was watching these duels, and I'm sure that's what Stardust Yu-Gi-Oh probably thought when he put this together. Shout outs to Stardust Yu-Gi-Oh, always coming up with these crazy concoctions. If you guys want to watch more action like this, of course the link to his channel will be in the description below. Guys, support the smaller YouTubers. They're just trying to grind hard like all of us, and you guys will be really surprised to see how Miscellaneous Stories of all things actually works in this deck as well. But basically, this is a deck that obviously wants to synchro summon, and it uses the deep sea monsters at first, and then you kind of transition over to the tech genus side. Now this does allow you, because you're using the deep sea cards, to do something that TG kind of struggles with, and that's play through hand traps. TGs, we all know, has to special summon if you're playing a synchro build a billion times in a row, like a billion times in a turn. There's really no way of getting around that, and that leaves you kind of susceptible to things like, you know, Nibiru or Cyframe Gear Gamma, and this deck at least has somewhat of an answer to that. Anyways, let's go ahead and roll these duels, and by the way, if you guys do like content like that, just let me know by giving the video a thumbs up, and you know, that helps with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps it share the video with as many people as possible. Anyways, so you can see right here, he is opening up with the deep sea side, and that does let him take a card out of his opponent's hand. If nothing else, it lets you know what your opponent is going to throw at you, and probably, you know, what deck they're actually playing. So usually you would use some of the deep sea cards to take cards out of your opponent's hand. Now you can transition into the TG side, and I still think TG Trident Launcher is a good card because it does allow you basically to have a ton of link materials on the field, or you can obviously use these for like synchro summoning. Usually you want to go for TG Hyper Librarian as quickly as possible. There's also production with the token production with the TG Tank Larva, if I'm not mistaken, that's the name. I think we got a Larva token on field, and then you can just continue to combo out. Now this is of course a TG deck, and that means that we must, at least one time in our turn, we must go for an Excel Synchro. It's mandatory. If you don't Excel Synchro while playing TGs, you're not living up to the spirit of the deck. I think we might see an Excel Synchro during the opponent's turn, and you can make some really cool stuff with this deck. You have the ability to obviously make Quasar Dragon. You can make things like the Stardust Seafer Divine Dragon. I think that like Quasar or Blazar might have been a little better here, but I guess that's honestly up for debate. It's really nice because when you do Synchro Summon during your opponent's turn, not only do you get to draw a card, but with this card Synchro Chase, you actually get to summon another Synchro monster from your graveyard. So you're doing all types of Synchro shenanigans during your opponent's turn. I think that if there's one thing this deck needs, it needs a way of converting this advantage into actual like removal. Like I think a card like Phoenix from Windblast would be perfect because you can see that Stardust Yu-Gi-Oh has like a billion cards in hand, but he can't really use them against his opponent. However, he can still defend himself during his turn. Altergeist players like, yo Cap, don't even worry bro, I got these strikes, I got all these cards, I'm just gonna do my typical Altergeist thing, I'm gonna set 5 cards and this game is over. But it's over for you, my foolish friend. He's gonna go ahead and go into Satellite Warrior. He has so many synchros in his graveyard. Check this out. All 6 of your cards off the field. Get wrecked, scrub. Doesn't matter if you get the if you get the multi-figure to your hand, because as Kaito said in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V, there is no next turn. I mean, technically he could OTK with just Satellite Warrior alone because it has what, 8,300? Is that a 5 or I think it's 8,500 attack. So he could technically just one-shot him with the Satellite Warrior, but obviously we want a little bit more flair. But yeah, that's the one thing that you will notice. One of the pitfalls with this deck is sometimes you have so much advantage in your hand with like TG Hyper Librarian that you can't really expend it efficiently efficiently. And that is one problem that these Hyper Librarian decks have always kind of historically had, is that sometimes they can't spend all their advantage, and that obviously is a problem. I also think that he might need to adjust some of these ratios, because he has a lot of normal summons in this deck. Even though the normal summons are basically just Diva and Nephthybis, that can actually be a decent amount. So he's going to go for a setup very similar to the one that we saw in the first duel. And no, guys, this isn't like Adamanticipators or Pendulums where you're going to get like 15 Negates or something like that. But it's still a fun deck. It's a deck that does different things. This is a deck that summons Excel Synchros. It summons big level 12 Synchros, stuff that you don't generally see in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it can also Synchro summon, as I said, during the opponent's turn. So he just obviously is going to shotgun. He's just going to get that Doki Doki out of there, which is the normal summon. But we know Adamanticipators, they don't really, I mean, I don't want to say they don't need their normal summon, but they can live without the normal summon. Like they have so many extenders that they generally can get through. They got a Monster Reborn and all that other good stuff. He is going to special summon his TG Warwolf, but I feel like that ain't gonna do nothing but possibly get spun off the field. Oh no, wait, excuse me, it's the only thing that didn't get spun. He's gonna reborn the TG Blade Blaster, so now he's beating him down with his own monster, but there could be a comeback. You know, don't underestimate the equalizer that was the Satellite Warrior. We saw that in the last duel, and we saw how powerful it is. We're going to see one of the TG monsters. Hold on, this is just bugging me right here. This is TG. No, wait, I'm sorry, it's on the field. This is TG Screw Serpent. I think all these cards are from Savage Strike, at least all the new TGs. That's the one that has the built-in Monster Reborn, and he's gonna go for Satellite Warrior once again, but not able to really do enough damage here. And we know that, you know, it just takes a couple of cards for Adamanticipators. See, this is again an example of why you probably want to run. I'm just thinking Regeki Breaks and Wing Blast. Like, these would be perfect, because if you look at Stardust Yu-Gi-Oh's hand, he has so many cards in hand, but can't really do anything with them. So yeah, if he had maybe a defensive trap or a defensive spell card, I feel like this could probably be a wrap. If he stops Researcher, I think the game is just over, but Researcher gets another card, and then from there, usually the Adamantipator deck can just keep on hitting extenders through Excavation, unless they're just like super unlucky. But you know, if you hit one Adamantipator off of one effect, and you can hit another one off of another effect, then at that point you're just link climbing, or you're going to be able to go into like a Synchro monster. His opponent can easily just make Boil Sword Dragon, simply attacking the Satellite Warrior, and end this duel. I mean, he's still just this dude is just not going to stop excavating at this point. Clearly he has Boil Sword for game on board, but he's like, Cap, I need to get the more excavation. Anyways, let's actually, no, we don't need to pause. I can just show you guys what the deck list looks like right here. So yeah, it's definitely a deck that has a lot of engines and a lot of moving parts, and I was super shocked to see the Miscellaneous Source, but you know, I guess I just didn't realize that TGs have a dinosaur monster, so why not? This would actually be another card theoretically to potentially, I guess, pitch for. You know, you see things like 1-for-1 in here. That can obviously be a card to pitch with Miscellaneous Source, because you're basically just using it for the graveyard effect. You're not really using the in-hand effect. But I think what I would personally do is I would try to trim this deck down. Like, I do see a lot of monsters like Magician Souls, maybe even other normal summons like Red Resonator. I don't know if they necessarily have to be in here, but I do think that this deck needs more ways of being able to spin its advantage. And I think the extra deck is so tight that I don't really know if you can include other monsters in the extra deck. Like, I'm sure you could probably fit a Quasar in here, maybe cut something like TG Blade Blaster down to 1, and that could get you either a Quasar or a Blazar Dragon as like another Excel Synchro option. But I think that if you wanted to really take this deck to the next level, just fit in some defensive cards, because you saw in the duels, having tons of cards in your hand was not a problem. I even think you could throw a couple of hand traps in here, because more than likely you're going to draw into them. You just need ways of fighting your opponent back during your turn, because this deck can get disruption, but it's like situational disruption. It's not going to be nearly as good as some of the bigger players in the format. But anyways, it was definitely a cool deck, and you know, a cool combination of two archetypes that probably shouldn't work together, but hey, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! You can experiment, and you can sometimes make something awesome out of you know, two archetypes where you wouldn't expect something awesome to come from. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the duel. If you want to download this deck, of course, it will be in the description. Check out Stardust Yu-Gi-Oh's channel, which also will be in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos. This video has been brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/megacapital-G. Over 180,000 titles to choose from on your Apple or Android device. Cancel anytime with no obligations. I'm listening to The Amazing Wrestling for My Life by Shawn Michaels. Link in the description.